Russia invaded Ukraine on 24 February, and from then till now, we have been witnessing some of the most tragic moments from the war. Not a single day passed without some terrified news that hasn't been smashed on our television or phone. We have seen the brutal reality of Russian President Vladimir Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine. We have watched Russian troops target civilians and massacre families. We've also witnessed the heroism of the Ukrainian military and its people as they bravely push back, defending their nation and their freedom. But unfortunately, the situation is likely to get significantly worse as Russian military failures force Putin to double down on targeting civilians. Is Putin going for Plan B? What is he planning to do? Will the US president and the world is coming up with some strategies to stop the evil plans of the Russian president? And most importantly, how will it affect you and me? Let's find out in today's video. Hello viewers, welcome to the Ukraine War. We are here to deliver you updates on all the new political moves regarding the Russia-Ukraine conflicts, the casualties, strategies, and aftermaths of the ongoing war in detail. Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon if you don't want to miss any of those. Having said that, let's jump into today's topic. 1,000 years ago, Russia and Ukraine shared a legacy that both countries have complicated in recent time. This complication has resulted in massive destruction and is showing no intention to stop anytime soon, because the Russian President Vladimirovich Putin is opting for Plan B. So before jumping on the Plan B, let's figure out how the situation comes down to this extent. As you know, Russia invaded Ukraine on 24 February. But tension between Russia and Ukraine hasn't aroused recently. Russia and Ukraine have been at odds for a long time. Since the invasion of Crimea in 2014, Ukraine has been living in fear of war with Russia for nearly 8 years. In late 2021, Russia began deploying big numbers of troops close to Ukraine's borders while repeatedly denying it was going to attack. Then Mr. Putin scrapped a 2015 peace deal for the East and recognized areas under rebel control as independent. The launch of the major invasion by Russia on Ukraine that started with air and missile assaults on Ukrainian military targets before sending troops and tanks across the country's northern, eastern, and southern borders. These are terrifying times for Ukrainians as bombs rain down on cities and civilians rush to Cold War-era bomb shelters. Thousands have died already in what German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has dubbed Putin's war, civilians as well as soldiers. Russia's onslaught has prompted hundreds of thousands of people to flee across Ukraine's borders. Poland, Hungary, Romania, Moldova, and Slovakia are seeing a big influx, while the EU suggests more than 7 million people could be displaced. The war region is filled with the air of tension all around. When the war was started initially, Russian forces made rapid gains in the south, with their main objective being the creation of a land corridor between Crimea, which it annexed in 2014, and areas held by Russian-backed separatists in Donetsk and Luhansk. Standing in the way of that objective has been the port city of Mariupol, which has been encircled by Russian forces since the start of March. Russia has been accused of war crimes for its intense shelling of the city, with the local mayor saying more than 20,000 civilians have been killed. Other Russian forces struck elsewhere across Ukraine, including toward the eastern city of Kharkiv, as well as in the contested Donbas region and along the Black Sea coast. But as the seat of national power, Kyiv was the main prize, thus the thrust by elite airborne forces in the war's opening hours. But Putin failed to achieve his goal of quickly crushing Ukraine's outgunned and outnumbered army. Yes, you heard it right. Kyiv was a Russian defeat for the ages. The fight started poorly for the invaders and went downhill from there. The Russians were ill-prepared for Ukrainian resistance, proved incapable of adjusting to setbacks, failed to effectively combine air and land operations, misjudged Ukraine's ability to defend its skies, and bungled basic military functions, like planning and executing the movement of supplies. That's a really bad combination if you want to conquer a country, said Peter Mansour, a retired Army colonel and professor of military history at Ohio State University. For now at least, Putin's forces have shifted away from Kyiv to eastern Ukraine. Ultimately, the Russian leader may achieve some of his objectives, yet his failure to seize Kyiv will be long remembered for how it defied pre-war expectations and exposed surprising weaknesses in a military thought to be one of the strongest in the world. The Russians did make small and unsuccessful probes into the heart of Kyiv, and later they tried at great cost to encircle the capital by arcing farther west. Against enormous odds, the Ukrainians held their ground and fought back, stalling the Russians, and put to effective use a wide array of Western arms, including Javelin portable anti-tank weapons, shoulder-fired Stinger anti-aircraft missiles, and much more. Putin was not the only one surprised by his army's initial failures. US and other Western officials had figured that if the invasion happened, Russia's seemingly superior forces would slice through Ukraine's army like a hot knife through butter. And now, Ukraine's brave and brilliant response to Russia's attack is rightly being celebrated across the world. But for how long? You might have no idea, but it might be obscuring a growing danger. While the assault on Kyiv and the surrounding region has failed, Moscow's strategy in the south and east of Ukraine could well succeed. The US and its allies had widely interpreted Russian President Vladimir Putin's initial objectives to include the seizure of Kyiv in a matter of days, and the replacement of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's government with a pro-Russian regime. None of that has come to pass. A senior US official said indications suggest more than 3 weeks of grueling combat in which Ukraine has put up fierce resistance to Russian forces has prompted Mr. Putin to adjust his tactics. So let's see what Plan B looks like. Under this Plan B, Moscow has multiple aims that risk prolonging the conflict and causing yet more death and destruction. Even with full control over the media after a series of draconian measures, President Vladimir Putin will want to report some kind of success on May 9, when Russia marks its victory over Nazi Germany in World War II. Putin is obsessed with symbolic dates and history, so he desperately needs a victory picture before May 9, said Alexander Grinberg, an analyst at the Jerusalem Institute for Security and Strategy. While Russia forces appear to be moving away from Kyiv and other regions of the north, Russia is making no such move around the southeastern city of Mariupol, which has been besieged for weeks in defiance of an international outcry. As Kan Kazapoglu, a military scholar and strategist, presciently pointed out in the first few weeks of the war in an essay for the Hudson Institute, there are two distinct wars taking place in Ukraine, one in the north and one in the south, and the latter has been radically more successful for Moscow. Russia has been able to move forces and supplies out of its bases in Crimea and capture the cities of Melitopol and Kherson. Seizing Mariupol would be a crucial step for Russia in realizing its apparent aim to control territory linking the Ukrainian peninsula of Crimea seized by Moscow in 2014 to Russia. I expect intense fighting until the final retreat of the Ukrainian resistance from Mariupol, Grinberg said. With Mariupol, Russian forces could go north up to grasp the rest of Donbass and have continuous control of the south of Ukraine and the coast of the Sea of Azov. The war is far from over and could still turn Russia's way if the Russian military can launch a successful operation in eastern Ukraine, said analysts at the Institute for the Study of War. You must be thinking, what are the United States and the West doing? Much more of everything they are already doing. Ukraine needs more arms, especially those that give it massive asymmetric fighting power. That means helicopters, armed Humvees, multiple launch rocket systems, and drones of every kind. Turkish drones have proved to be an amazingly effective weapon in this conflict. The war is far from over. Further offensives are to come, said Gustav Gressel, senior policy fellow at the European Council on Foreign Relations. The invasion has proved hugely costly for Russia in terms of both human losses and destruction to military hardware in the face of Ukrainian resistance that was far tougher than the Kremlin expected. As you know, the U.S. has dedicated about $16 billion in aid to Ukraine since the invasion. Meanwhile, the world is expected to pay $320 billion to Russia this year for its energy. Economic sanctions will not force Putin to end the war as long as this gaping loophole exists. The only pressure that will force Russia to the negotiating table is military defeat in the south. Putin's Plan A failed, but who will stop letting his Plan B succeed? And how further this sanction can go, as they are not only impacting the Russian economy, but also the global economy, which is still finding its way out from COVID pandemic. So, what do you think? Where is this war heading toward, and how is it supposed to end? Share your views in the comment section, and don't forget to like and share the video. Also subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon to get the fastest update about the Russian-Ukraine war. This was it for today. We'll see you soon in the next video. Until then, peace.